Good morning, my name's Sam. This is my channel Sew It Sparkle with Sam, and it's episode 7 of Sewing Bee. If you haven't watched yet, you know what to do. See you in a bit. I have been a busy little bee this week, working on my sequin bomber jacket for the final of Sewing Bee that I'm hoping to wear for the last week during these vlogs. So if you want to find out how I've been getting on, you can pop over to Instagram, or you can stay to the end of this video and I'll put a little kind of reel of how I've been getting on so far. I'm zipping today. Episode 7. Next week is the quarterfinals. Where has the time gone? So this week is lingerie week. So that's why I'm in my pajamas. I didn't think you'd want to see me in my bra and pants, so I'm in my pajamas. So these are the Tilly and the Buttons Juno pajamas. I have recently made from the Sewing Bee book this cami set and shorts. And I'll pop a picture of me wearing those that I made for a recent challenge. The reason that I'm not wearing those today is, one, it's a little bit chilly. And also it's quite, this pattern is quite tight fitting around the bust. And I didn't want to, you know, kind of have any spillages. So yeah, week 7, episode 7. It was really weird. I had to do kind of a count up when I was writing, because I write my notes. And I write each challenge in my page of my notebooks before the episode starts. And I had to double check with my husband that there were only 6 contestants. Yeah, so only 6 left. So let's get straight on, shall we? The pattern challenge. So the pattern challenge, they had to make a pajama blouse. Now, I kind of didn't really, I guess I'd never really thought about there was a difference between a pajama blouse and a pajama shirt, because I tend to, if I wear pajamas in a shirt and top, a shirt and bottom kind of set, I don't really see them as being blouse and shirt. They feel like a shirt and, you know, so that was, it took a little bit of me getting my head around that it was blouse, but I guess they wanted to make it as a blouse. With flat piping, and again, I've made pajamas with piping, but I've used it with piping cord, so I've never made flat piping before, which I found quite interesting. And I'm assuming that maybe flat piping, I mean, all piping is quite difficult, but maybe flat piping is easier in some respects, because you haven't got the cord in it. But then I guess the cord helps you measure it exactly, so you've always got the same amount. Anyway, they had 4 hours and 15 minutes to make some 2 luxury fabrics. I had to choose 2 luxury fabrics, one for their main pajamas and one for their piping, 5 buttons and buttonholes and flat piping. Now, this episode was a little bit sponsored by Fabric Godmother, I spied, because every single fabric that the contestants picked, I'm pretty sure was a Fabric Godmother fabric. If it's not a current one, it's one that they've had in the past, because I was just seeing Fabric Godmother patterns and fabrics everywhere. Not that that's a bad thing. It was just an observation. So yeah, they all had to choose their fabrics. So colour choice was actually quite important. And Patrick was definitely had a bit of an eagle eye over what they were choosing. So Pasha went for a green and pink fabric, which was very nice. Alex went for green and rust. Now, Patrick wasn't sure about this at the beginning, but actually it matched really well. And Marcus made a bit of a funny decision the first, he did change his decision. He had this lovely kind of blue and it had floral main fabric, and he went for this kind of like muddy purple colour, and not only did it not match, it didn't go with any of the colour tones that were in his original fabric, so he swapped for white, and I think that was the right decision. And then Susie and Luke, they chose kind of opposites of colourway fabric. So Susie had green and pink, Luke had pink and green, but it was the same kind of design. So yeah, so how they did. So Pasha's pajamas, as I said, lovely fabric combo. The neat piping and a nice, maybe it was a little bit narrow in places, but I thought it was very neat, and the hem was very neat, and overall it was very well sewn. Well done, Pasha, was absolutely gorgeous. And then Luke, they had lovely even piping. It was all very well lined up, and it was very nicely sewn. I quite liked the pink fabric. I think of the ones that were there, I don't know which other one would I definitely would have worn that one. It was really, it was a nice combination and nicely finished. Marcus, not great piping, and the buttons were just kind of wrong. In my notes I've just put, you know, that face where you just put a straight line, kind of that's what I've done. So I'm like, not sure, Marcus, about that one. Elsa, not very even, and there was a tuck in her sleeve, and there was a buttonhole that didn't quite line up, so I think she gets another face. It's really hard, isn't it? You know me, I'm Little Miss Sparkly Positive person. But as we're kind of edging in, you know, I've started to realise there can only be one winner, can't there? There can only be one winner. So, you know, you have to get a bit nitpicky coming towards the end. You kind of have to think, well, actually, you know, they're all brilliant. But you have to get a bit nitpicky, which I'm not naturally nitpicky. So Alex's, I loved Alex's, and although Patrick wasn't sure about her combination, I thought it was absolutely lovely. I mean, I love green, and I love that rusty colour because I'm a natural ginger. That rusty colour goes really nicely with my kind of skin tone, so I think the green and rust went really nicely together. It was very well made and very nicely sewn, and yeah, beautiful. Susie's. Now I'm going to read straight from my notes. Bit of a dog's dinner. Yeah. At this point I was getting a bit worried about Susie, because I have to say, you know, when they go through all the points and the judges go all through the points, they were finding it really hard to find a positive, because there wasn't really that many of them. I mean, the fabric was beautiful. Yeah. So hopefully you're seeing pictures of them all and you can make your own mind up. But in the pattern challenge, Susie was 6th, Elsa was 5th, Marcus was 4th, Luke was 3rd, Pasha 2nd, and Alex was 1st. So into the transformation challenge, and this was the transformation, shapewear and lace into a garment. So shapewear is that kind of ultra stretchy kind of lingerie undergarments that you wear to kind of help shape you, to help pull you in or push you out or do anything that you need to do. I don't really use a lot of shapewear. I do have one pair of kind of suck it all in pants, which I think everyone should have in their wardrobe or drawers. It's not really something I know a lot about or would have a clue how to transform, so I think they did really well. They were allowed to use 2 shapewear pieces and 2 meters of lace, and the prompt was it needs to be exciting and unexpected, and there was one that definitely hit that brief. So yeah, they all took their different takes on it, and I'm going to pop the pictures up and let you decide. So Marcus, bet you weren't expecting that. Now, the science teacher and me, all I could see was this. So every time I saw Marcus's, I just saw this. And it made me laugh so much. In fact, I was still giggling this morning when I woke up, and it was kind of one of the first things I saw on the Instagram feed. I don't know what you were thinking, Marcus, but I was there for it. I thought it was hilarious. So he used the lace and then the shapewear to make the kind of man's chest bits, the pecs and the abs, and it was what it was. Some people might say ingenious, some people might say mad as a hatter. So Susie, she said that she was going for a bit of a Lara Croft look, which I kind of got, but it had a bit of an odd look about it. It wasn't proportioned very well. So, I mean, it was definitely exciting and a bit unexpected because it wasn't conventional, but yeah, it was just, for me, it was a bit odd. It looked a bit odd. Luke, they did a floor length dress with a lace overlay, and it was kind of like a bat wing sleeve, and it had D-rings. Now, one of the judges' comments was it needed more. I don't know what more they could have brought to it, to be honest. I don't know. I think it needed maybe, I don't know, it was kind of, yeah, maybe it needed something. But when they kind of said more, they didn't kind of elaborate on what it needed more, so it left me a bit puzzled. But, you know, shapewear to a garment in an hour and a half, you know, it was definitely exciting. Elsa was like a twisted black and white lace, black lace, white lace, black, and I think it was mainly black shapewear. I thought it had quite a nice silhouette to it, but again, they said that they wished that she'd used more white lace, and I have to agree with that. There was one bit in the middle where I think if she'd popped some white lace kind of underneath it, it would have really popped and made that silhouette look really nice. But again, garment in an hour and a half, you know, they're all doing fantastically well. Alex, I wrote, Little Bo Peep goes to the Rocky Horror Show. Because for me, it was kind of like sexy, but in a nursery rhyme kind of way. Can nursery rhymes be sexy? I guess so. But yeah, yeah, that's all I've got to say on that, Alex. I loved it. It was just, yeah, there we go. And then Portia did the slash dress. Now, of course, Esme loved this one. Of course, Esme's going to like it. Anything that looks like it's come from the Ann Summers catalogue, Esme's going to love. And yeah, she loved it. And it was really great. And I really loved, sometimes they don't show the kind of progression in the show, but they really showed Pasha's kind of ideas, and as she was getting different ideas and as she was kind of just randomly sashing things, and it really showed me kind of how Pasha's brain was working during that, and I really did enjoy that process. So for the transformation challenge, Marcus was 6th, Elsa was 5th, Susie 4th, Luke 3rd, Alex 2nd, and Pasha was 1st. So then we go into the made to measure. Now, definitely Pasha and Alex are very much safe in this going into the made to measure, and Marcus and Elsa and Susie were looking a little bit, you know, kind of, and Luke was just kind of there in the middle. So yeah, it's quite interesting to kind of know where the judges' minds were at this point when they all came down the runway. So the made to measure was a bustier dress, so it needed to include bust cups and boning. They could use boning in any which way that they felt it needed to be used, but they needed to have bust cups. Why is that so hard to say? Bust cups and boning to make the bustier dress. So I'm going to go through them all as I normally do, and there'll be pop up the image that the contestants kind of had in mind for the dress, and then the finished dressed photo. So Susie, her idea was a jigsaw of colours so that no colours would be next to each other, in pink, green and red with a ruffle. And it was very, very kind of Susie. Now I'm going to read what I wrote about Susie's here, which was: pantomime dame down the runway, very fun, very jolly, not a perfect fit. And it was very fun and it was very jolly, but again, I'm going to say this every time, when it's a made to measure, I think the fit is really important. And the fit wasn't perfect, but I have to say of kind of previous ones, this was kind of one of Susie's better garments, and I think she'd made real improvements from the last couple of weeks. Excuse me. So yeah, I enjoyed it coming down the runway. Most of the things that Susie makes for me are like really out there, and I love, I love a bit of bright colours, but it was a little bit off for me on the colours. Yeah, and it kind of went from kind of fun to a bit pantomime-y. Oh, that sounded really mean, didn't it? Sorry, didn't mean to be mean. It is my personal opinion. Marcus, so apparently he'd been thinking about this for a long time, that if he'd got to the sewing bee, this is what he wanted to make. And I love it when the contestants get to the part of the sewing bee that they really want to get to, because it means that they're showing the best of them, which I think is really lovely. So he made a kind of skater chick dress with tartan skirt and a big chunky zip, and with lots of piping. And kind of the judges' comments on his was that there was no bust shape, and I have to agree, there was no bust shape, and the bust actually didn't sit anywhere near the bust either, which made it look a bit kind of screwiff is I think the best word. There was a sort of hem on the skirt, and I'm being very kind here, but it wasn't well sewn. It looked great coming down the runway. I have to say, when it came down, me and my husband looked at each other and I was like, oh, that looks okay. But on closer inspection, it definitely wasn't fabulous sewing. And the fit definitely wasn't top notch. So Alex, I loved it. I loved everything about this. I loved when Alex was talking about what her idea was. I was totally up for it. When she kind of was making it, I was getting excited about what it was going to look like. And when it came down the runway, it really didn't disappoint. The only thing that I would say is I wish that she'd had like 3 minutes to cut the netting a little bit shorter. Hey ho. So Alex made a inside out dress with polka dot jacquard and netting, and yeah, and it was just stunning coming down the runway. Very interesting, very well sewn. I mean, you could tell it was well sewn because of the whole inside outside thing, because if it hadn't been well sewn, you would have seen everything. And I think there was judging about one fitting point, but to me, again, from sitting on my sofa looking, I thought the fit was really good. It looked lovely on the model, and the model seemed very comfortable in it. So yeah, I really like that one. And then there was Pasha. So Pasha went for vintage glam with expensive lace. And as soon as she was describing what she was going to make, it made me think about Asma from last year's Sewing Bee. I'll pop a picture up of Asma's kind of lingerie week challenge and Pasha's, and you make your own mind up. But I think that Pasha might have been a bit influenced by the amazing Asma. So yeah, I mean, who wouldn't be? We're all a bit influenced by the amazing Asma, aren't we? So it was a lovely combination, beautiful down the catwalk. Her model kind of glided gorgeously down the way. It was very well, it was very well sewn. I think actually I've written, Patrick said floated. So yeah, floated along. Absolutely gorgeous. Really enjoyed that one. So yeah, that was fantastic from Pasha. Now Elsa, I loved Elsa's ideas. I always love Elsa's creativity. I think she's absolutely fantastic. She wanted an unconventional kind of dress. She wanted, I think, reading between the lines, I think what she wanted to show was that how the original corset, how the idea of a corset on a female body kind of really contorts the body and isn't natural for a woman's body. So she kind of almost wanted it to look a bit ugly, in an unflattering kind of way. I'm sorry if my words aren't, it's not, but I'm just putting myself into Elsa's head for a while. And I love that idea. However, I think that, again, because they have not very much time, she didn't manage to get her idea out exactly, but I loved where she was going with it. It was kind of deliberately unnormal, but it wasn't well executed, and it was a little bit rushed in the construction, but I was totally there for the idea. And then there was Luke. So Luke, this doesn't often happen in Sewing Bee, but they showed the full on pattern. So it's the Ornella dress pattern by Vicky Sews with the kind of seashell bust cups, and like a pageant gown with train kind of dress. And I thought it was quite interesting because Patrick kind of really questions Luke about how much he'd practiced or whatever. So I don't know whether that's something that's like ongoing. Obviously, you don't know what conversations they have behind the scenes, and maybe Luke comes across as not someone that doesn't do their homework. Don't know, but I found it really interesting. But the way that they showed how they handled the pattern pieces. Now I've had pattern pieces like that you pleat on, and actually it's quite a tricky thing to do. And when it was actually pleated on the pattern piece, it did look really, really beautiful. But when it actually came to fitting into the model, the pleats did kind of splay a little bit, so they weren't as, what's the word? They weren't as uniform as they could have been. But you know, Luke's model looked absolutely fantastic. I thought again it was quite dramatic coming down the runway from a distance, but close up there was a little bit of fitting issue. It wasn't, and I think there was a last minute kind of pop straps on, because I think without the straps the fitting issue would have been more kind of in your face, as it were. But you know, I was totally there for it and loved it. So this week the lovely Amber was on to chat about boning and corsets, and I was really glad that they kind of chatted about the Madonna kind of idea, because I think corseting through the ages has kind of meant different things, and I think that's how we've ended up with shapewear, because you know, it's kind of, we all want to kind of shape our bodies even now, but maybe in a more comfortable way rather than using whalebone. So I found that really interesting, but I'm always there for what Amber has to say. So yeah, so that was it really. That was the end of lingerie week, and garment of the week was Pasha again, which I thought absolutely, and very, very sadly going home was Marcus, and bless him, he was like, I've run out of caps now anyway. I think he kind of knew it was coming. He saw it was coming. But I will really miss Marcus, because he brings the bonkers to Sewing Bee, and we all love the bonkers in Sewing Bee. So yeah, next week is Diva Week. I am so there for Diva Week. I cannot wait. It's going to be so exciting. So I hope you've enjoyed listening to what I've got to say. And yeah, and I will see you next week. Don't forget, if you love this video, to give me a little like, and if you want to see more, then don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell, and you'll always know when I'm back on. So yeah, take care, don't forget to sparkle. See you next week. Bye.